Hey everybody, I'm Scott Hollingsworth, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Database Mastery Hangout. We've got a great guest in line for you today that's going to share a little bit about how database marketing works in new markets. And as always, I'm joined by our host, Brad Korn. Brad, why don't you explain a little bit more what we're going to be talking about today and introduce everybody to Jason?
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I'm really excited about these Hangouts. Viral marketing has definitely taken the forefront as far as like video in real estate. These guys hound the crud out of you until you get your video out there because they understand how important video is. So I got to tell you, this is why we've had these Google Hangouts, these database Google Hangouts, because these guys keep bugging me every month to make sure I get a guest, make sure I put this stuff together. Here's the good part about it, is that really what we're able to do, is bring real-world agents who are really dealing with real estate situations and roller coaster ride real estate businesses. We cross paths with them. I help them with their database, whether that's through a course or whether it's coaching. And I've been working on the database stuff for over 20 plus years in real estate and have just really figured out how to turn your database into a gold mine. So the cool thing about this is you get to really hear from real-world agents who are dealing with the same exact struggles you're dealing with. And I'll share with you that the biggest issue with the real estate industry is a lot of what we learn and what we're taught in real estate is to go get the next piece of business, go get the next piece of business, go get the next piece of business. And what I found out over the last 20 years, it's about all the relationships of the people you meet along the way. While you're picking up that business, you're leaving 97% of the business, you're just letting it go nowhere, and you're just looking for that next piece of business. So what we figured out is that by putting people in your database every day and feeding it every day and just staying in touch with people, you build this huge pipeline of business. And today's guest, more than ever, you're going to really hear the benefits of what really happens when you feed your database and what really happens with your business when you don't. So I'm real excited about today, and it's just really sharing this database stuff with you guys so you don't have to work so hard. Man, the real estate is a grindstone, going out there every day and grinding it out, looking for the next deal and the next deal and the next deal. Real estate should be fun. It should be fun for your clients, and when you create a great system, you can deliver great service and have fun selling real estate again. So first of all, thank you guys, Scott, for staying on me to make sure these things happen every month.
You're welcome.
Cool. And so we've also got Jason here. Jason, now last month, we launched this just last month, and Andrew Pykoff was our first guest. And Andrew is a really successful agent in the Houston area. I've kind of partnered up with him and taken over his database part of his business. And really helped him get that whole thing lined up, and he has just been going gangbusters. He's like doubling his business right now, but he about killed himself, like just giving himself a nervous breakdown over real estate, and really truly like ended up in the hospital. So that's a great hangout to check out, because just to hear what Andrew's done in a very short period of time. Who we're bringing you today, Jason Korn in Lincoln, Nebraska. He liked my name so much, he went down to the DMV and had his name legally changed to Korn. No, not really. That's what I love about these hangouts. We can just have fun, right? This is my little brother, Jason Korn. He lives in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I am really, truly proud of what he's done in real estate. However, I will tell you this. The reason I am so excited about having him on the call today is because I don't think his story is a lot different from probably 80% of the realtors in the industry. In some way, shape, or form, everybody kind of goes through the same things Jason's gone through. But I'll tell you what's really cool about it is we have figured out, I mean, we really can see in Jason's business when he works his database and when he doesn't work his database. So that's why I'm really excited to bring you Jason Korn from Lincoln, Nebraska. I think you started your team back in like '05, right? Going on 10 years in real estate? Are you kidding me?
It was actually August 2006.
2006. All right,
Close
so
enough.
Jason's been in real estate for almost 9 years. He had a fake ID when he was 12, and he got his real estate license. No, I'm kidding.
That's the reason why I didn't put my picture on any of my business cards at first.
And he's done well. He has built a comfortable real estate business, and it's got its uncomforts too. So we're going to dig that up today. But I will tell you, there is something that you really have to be careful about having a comfortable business as well, because it can catch you off guard. But so, Jason, tell them about yourself. Tell them about Lincoln, Nebraska. How do people get you referrals and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like Brad said, I started in real estate with the advice of my supposed wiser older brother. Told me that I was managing a bowling center. I've been in love with bowling since I was 4 years old. Kind of eat, sleep, and breathe it. But at the end of the day, I just decided I want something where I can go home at the end of the day and feel really good about what I contributed. Thought about getting in the financial industry. Brad said you should give real estate a try. And I didn't know any better, so I did. And then shortly after that, I started hearing all these people telling me, because everyone's real estate professional, just started telling me how crazy I was to be getting in the real estate market when it's going downhill. I had no clue what they were talking about. I didn't know anything about real estate the day I decided to get into real estate. So through Brad's help, I just got off the ground, and even worked a little bit full-time still at the beginning of my real estate career, and just slowly have grown my database. And as he said, when I'm working it properly, it pays dividends, and when the moments that I've stopped, it is clear to see, and we'll kind of get into that today. But to kind of give you guys an idea of what the real estate market's like here in Lincoln, our average sell price is about $170, and right now we have 656 homes on the market as of today, which, to tell you, what that means, I would say in a balanced market we should have 1,500, just in a nice even market. When I first started in the real estate business before the bottom went out, we had over 2,000 on the market. So our inventory is really low right now, and I think from what I hear that's pretty common across the nation. But
cool. So we're going to really dig into how Jason started in real estate and go through that whole process of him ramping that business up, which there's really some huge ahas in there for you guys. Really, it's the whole call. It's just everything that he's gone through. You guys are going to see where you can really take your business to the next level. So before we jump into that, Scott, is there anything that you want to add to, like, all of our guests that are attending and watching, how they can ask for questions and all that stuff?
Yeah. I just want to say that we've got a Q&A app open. So right in the Google Hangout, there's a Q&A app available. Go ahead and open that up. If you have any questions for Jason or Brad throughout the entire Hangout, submit them there. I'll be watching that, and I'll make sure that all the questions get answered live on air.
Cool. All right, so Scott, just feel free to jump in wherever you can catch me taking a slight breath. I don't take a whole lot of breaths when I'm on these webinars. I just get going and try and get as much information crammed in that time, because people are taking time out of their schedule. I'm not a real fluffy guy. I get right into the meat. So just try and squeeze in there. If there's a question that feels like there's a good place to throw it in. So
perfect.
All right, so we're going to start out. Here's the cool thing about working with Jason and having him on the call today is that when Jason started in 2006, I had been talking with Gary Keller about his big vision of real estate agents having teams across the country. It's called expansion teams now. If you're at Keller Williams, you're hearing the word expansion team like crazy throughout our company. But what my vision when I got into real estate from day one was that I was going to build little teams all over the country, like especially like the places that I would want to take my family on vacation. California, Florida, Vegas, so we can play some poker once in a while, right? But all those kind of places that I would want to travel and go on vacation, I was going to build teams around the country. Now, this was back in 1995. I got in real estate in 1991. I had no clue what I was doing for the first 3 years. But in 95, I kind of got the big picture, and the team thing started forming that I was going to take my teams across the country. Well, in 2006 or 2005, somewhere in there, Gary was having some mastermind groups with how teams expanded to different markets. Well, I went ahead and did it. Jason had called me and said he was tired of working at the bowling center all the time. By the way, let's just get some definitions clear here. It's never called a bowling alley ever again, as far as Jason.
That's right.
If Jason's on the phone or you're talking to Jason, always call it a bowling center. You don't hang out in the alleys with Jason.
That's right.
That's what the professionals call it, the bowling centers. He has set like records in North Platte, Nebraska, where my dad lives, or our dad lives, where Jason grew up. He has set records in that town for bowling and all kinds of stuff. So he was just about ready to go on the professional tour, right? You were headed down that path.
I was headed down that path, yeah.
Yeah, so real estate sucked him in. But here's the point I want to get across, guys, is that on expansion teams, when he started talking about that, I just went ahead and did it. Jason called me at about that same time, said he wanted to get into real estate. Well, my project was I wanted to find out if we could start a successful real estate business with zero money invested. Because I found that working in real estate, by the time you go to real estate school, you know, that's $400. Obviously, professional real estate agents in the industry would love to raise the bar on real estate and make it harder to get into real estate. But for an average person that is getting into real estate, it's $400 or so for real estate school. Then you got another $1,500 in all these fees. So the problem is they don't tell you you need $2,000 in the bank before you start this real estate journey. So most realtors start out so far in the hole that if you spent $2,000 to get your real estate license, and then you work for a company that doesn't cost you anything to be there, like those 50-50 split companies. They don't usually charge you for desk space. They don't charge you for a lot of stuff. They just take half your commission. Well, the reality is, no matter what split you're working on, if you start out in the whole 2,000 and then you finally get your first sale and then somebody takes half of it, and you get another sale and they take half of it, and another sale they take half of it, it's like it takes forever to get out of the hole, which is why 60% of most realtors don't make it in the industry much after 2 years, right? So if you've been in real estate for more than 2 years, congratulations, you succeeded more than 60% of other people. They get in, they get out, right? But even if you're on a 70-30 split, 80-20 split, when you go up in these higher splits, you do pick up more of the cost to be in real estate. And so another thing that we're taught is, and Jason will share this stuff with us, how when he got started, is all the money you got to spend on marketing, and you got to spend money to make money. We've been taught all these things our whole lives. So when Jason called me, it was a perfect opportunity that I knew he would listen to me. I knew he would actually do stuff that I would suggest to him because he wanted to make it in real estate, and he knew that we had been successful in real estate. So I wanted to start this team with no money out of pocket, and we did that. So that's where I want to kind of throw Jason in here to kind of take us through the beginning of real estate. When we started your team, we literally had no money out of pocket, and I kind of made a suggestion on what you needed to do for probably the first 3 to 6 months in real estate. So just take us through you starting in Lincoln, Nebraska, no money invested at all other than real estate school, but we didn't spend any money on signs or lockboxes or any of that. So kind of share what that very first start looked like, and what your days looked like, and what you did to get off the ground.
Yeah, like Brad said, we started out with zero money. I believe the company that I joined with, which is just a local company here, they gave me, I think, 100 free business cards, or maybe it was 500 free business cards, and they gave me 2 signs, just with the company logo, but my name, rather small on it. And that's what we started with. And Brad said, now what you need to do is do as many open houses as you can, and not just open houses though in the beginning without having listings. I would do open houses for other people, but I would knock on the doors on 2 blocks on either side and across the street and just introduce myself. We usually made up just a cheap little flyer, say, hey, I'm having this private showing, 30 minutes before the public gets there for any of the neighbors. So I got to meet people that way. And that was really just the whole purpose of everything, was to meet and add 5 people a day to my database. So through doing that with open houses, well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and it wasn't just open houses meeting strangers, because I knew you aren't comfortable talking to strangers. Jason, as fun as he is to talk to, and by the time you guys get done with today's interview or watching this, you're going to love Jason. Everybody does. I mean, he's fun, he's funny, he makes you laugh, he makes you smile. I mean, you just like him when you meet him, but he actually hides in this little shell. I didn't even know he really had it. I thought he was pretty outgoing, but talking to strangers is very uncomfortable for him. So actually, before you go through where those other people came, I wanted to grab on one thing that you said on the signs. Here's the thing on the signs. I told him not to worry about buying signs right now. if you'll notice, his tagline says Quarantine Lincoln, Nebraska. We basically took our brand in Kansas City and just gave, I mean, it's in Lincoln. It looks exactly the same. If you drove through Kansas City and then drove through Lincoln, you would be like, did we leave the same town? It's been 3 hours between the two, right? The logo's the same. Our signs almost look the same because, you know, the company he was with had red, white, signs. Or I'm sorry, red, white, blue stripes on his signs. And my signs are red, white, red stripes on my signs. So the signs even look exactly the same. But I told him the point was, until you even get people fed in your database and they even know you're in real estate, I mean, to go out and get one listing in the next 30 days and have your branded sign out there, it's not going to gain you anything. Just take 6 months and let's stock up some money. So I do want to go back to also, it wasn't just open houses, because I think you fed the database more with people you already knew, and it was just focusing you on that list.
Yeah, that was just one of the small things you can do to meet new people. But yeah, the main thing I did was I just started going to everyone that I already knew. I had only lived in Lincoln for about a year, so that wasn't a huge amount of people, but I just went and visited the people that I knew. Every day I would make it a point to add and just let them know I'm in real estate, talk to them for a while, and then I would add them to my database so that I could follow up with them in the future. And that's really is how it started. And you are correct. I am an introverted extrovert. So once I get to know someone, you know, it's great. I'm Brad, but before, you know, to break the ice or, you know, just to walk up to a stranger, I'm not as good at that, I guess, as Brad is. You know, you in a room with Brad for 5 minutes and you think you've, you know, been best friends for 10 years. So it takes me a little time to warm up. So you don't have to be an extrovert either to, you know, meet new people and add people to your database. So
great. So the first few months we started, what's your business look like? So I knew you were working part-time, and I just said, just go meet 5 people a day, get their address, get their phone number, as much information as you can, and put it in this database. By the way, we were managing the database from Kansas City because it's, you know, most of the databases are web-based now. So he didn't even have any investment in a new database or anything. It was $0, guys. The goal was to make this business pay for itself and see if we could do that, to actually start a successful real estate business with zero money invested. But now we did reinvest the commission dollars back into the business to start growing it, and we'll go through that process. So what did the first 3 months look like? Because somebody gets into real estate, they're already behind the 8 ball, and they followed your plan. I mean, what can they really expect? It's not like they're going to have 10 listings tomorrow, right?
No, not at all. And you know, like you said, I worked during the day, so in the evenings, and like I had mentioned, I'm a bowler. That's pretty much the people I knew. And so every evening after I got off work, I would just go back to work after I grabbed some dinner, and I would just talk to all the league bowlers because that's everyone I knew. I saw them every single day, and I would just go back and talk to them, let them know that I was getting into real estate. My older brother had been in real estate. We're bringing the same plans and systems here, and really just told them that I was in real estate, got down their name and their address and all their information, and just started plugging them into the database. And like Brad said, I didn't even pay. Oh, I don't know if we're supposed to say this or not, but I didn't pay for Top Producer for the first several months. Maybe the first few years I didn't even pay for my own Top Producer. I just piggybacked off of Brad's, and it worked. We just set up our own systems within it.
So that we use the campaigns and action plans, and a website that you can go to, MakeThePhoneRingAgain.com, will have a whole bunch of free videos and interviews, and a lot of our systems are on there. So really the point was to get Jason to get the names and numbers into the database. We would start them on an automatic follow-up plan for him. And what's the key thing to these plans that I really coach people on is to get the personal touch back in there. So the cool part, see, Jason doesn't know real estate. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just going to feed the database every day. And of course, you know, I don't even need to teach Jason how to take a listing. If somebody goes, oh man, I want to sell my house, it's good we're talking, I didn't have to show Jason how to go get a listing. He's going to figure out how to fill out the paperwork. He'll put that one of those 2 signs in the yard. That's what I'm telling people. You got to be taught. You need to teach your team and teach your partners in your business to feed the database every day, to be information collectors. So what Jason was focusing on was not the next deal, but he was feeding the database so you can hear the success that he had for the next couple of years from from doing that on the very first, like right out of the chute. So here's what it looked like. The first 6 months, we set him up just as if he were on my team. When he worked with a buyer, he got to live off of the split that my buyer's agents would get. And here's what I want everybody to get from this session. So listen to it through your own eyes. Put yourself on the split that you give your team members, and try to live off of the split that you're keeping. When you work with a buyer, if you have a 50-50 split with your buyer's agents, then every time you get a commission check from a buyer, put 50% in your personal account, put the other 50% in a capital account, because that's what your team is living on. So if you can't live off of the split that you've got your own team on, then you got to really look at how you're doing stuff, right? When Jason, the only thing we did different is on the listing side. If I have a listing partner on my business, they're probably going to be somewhere around 20% of the listing commission, because there's a lot more expense that goes in there, but they're going to be able to take on 3 or 4 times as many listings as they are buyers. So the income is going to work out the same. Plus, with the listing, you go for an hour, you pitch it, you get the listing signed, and then pretty much everything else is on autopilot from there. We show agents how to autopilot their whole business through these campaigns and action plans. So they're on a little lower split. Because Jason was doing all the legwork and starting out, we just gave him a 50-50 split. Well, he gave himself a 50-50 split because him and I were kind of like partners in this deal, and I just wanted to make sure that half those commissions went into a capital account, because we don't want Jason using those 2 company signs for very long, any longer than we have to. We got to build the Korn Team brand, but not having a Korn Team sign in Lincoln, Nebraska for the first 6 months Jason was working didn't cost us any market time at all. So what we did was add him 50-50 split. Every commission check he would put 50% in this Korn Team account. We just let that accumulate until we had enough money to buy the signs. So take us from like August, you're just feeding the database. When did you get your first sale? What did that look like? And how did we start moving the brand in?
Yeah, first sale was in November, and they were actually a young couple buying their first house, who I did not already know. I actually met them through a friend who was a bowler that I had been networking with in the evening, and she said, "Hey, my sister and her husband are looking to buy a house." And so that was my first sale. We started looking at houses and worked with them in the evenings and on the weekends when I wasn't at work, and we closed at, I believe it was end of November in 2006.
All right,
so really from there, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so guys, keep in mind, August to November before his first sale, but he was still working full-time while he was doing this. There are some people that do get into real estate that they do it full-time. So here's the thing. In that time frame, I think, Jason, I don't know if you figured out how many people you actually added to the database, but it was probably a couple hundred people that you had networked with. Would you say that's safe? So,
yeah, easily, yeah.
So that bowler was probably somebody that he met early on, and then we had the system in place just dripping, making Jason, reminding him of calls to make, so he probably talked to him a few times since he added him to the database, and he would talk to him at bowling and whatever, but the guy was getting stuff from us in Kansas City. We were mailing things to his mailbox and sending him emails. Yeah. Jason didn't even know all that little stuff was going. He knew it was going, but he didn't get to see it or have to pay attention to it. The thing is that if you're doing this full time, you can get those 200 people in your first couple of weeks. It's just calling 100 people a week. So you can make that all happen. But here's the thing that's interesting about that. His first sale, now I would imagine, Jason, that you probably had some people interested in, well, we're thinking about maybe doing something. You have a lot of that kind of stuff with people in that time frame too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I had a lot of people that were thinking about doing stuff, just wanting some advice. Maybe we're waiting until, spring, like a lot of people say. They're getting their house ready, but yeah.
So here's what we know statistically, guys. If you actually talk to 100 people on the phone, whether you're calling 100 for sale by owners, 100 expireds, or 100 sphere, 2 or 3 of those 100 people, if I just knock those out in one day or in a week, you're going to pick up about 2 to 3 appointments. That's kind of the average that we see, right? So if you're calling 100 people and you get 3 appointments, you're usually going to list 1 or 2 of those or work with 1 or 2, and you're going to close 1 of them. So that's kind of where Jason was. I mean, he's right in the same thing, but he's kind of doing it part-time. So don't think your first sale has to be 3 or 4 months later. It depends on how much time you put in, but make sure you're putting the time into adding people to the database and continuing to stay in touch with them with personal touches and some other stuff along the way. That's the important thing I want them to hear from that. So his first sale was in November, but on the way, you got to hear what happens to the rest of his business here, because that's where those first 3 or 4 months of feeding that database every day really pays off. So take us into the next phase. What did that look like after your first sale clicked? What did your first year look like? What did your second year look like? And what were you doing with the database and the relationships during that time?
Yeah, so I just continued to feed the database with people that I knew. You know, 3, 5 a day. You taught me 5. There might be days where I only got 3, but it was better than getting none. Was kind of my thought. And so that first full year in the business, we did 8 sales in 2007. Our first full year. Continued through that religiously. Continued to feed my database. And of course put them all on our campaigns and our follow-up campaigns. And I did a very good job in the beginning with those personal touches, especially with the phone call and the handwritten notes. I've become the handwritten note guy around town. And in 2008 we doubled it, so we went to 16. We went to 16 sales in 2008. And again, I just continued to keep adding people, keep in touch with them. And I would say even towards the end of 2008, I started slacking a little bit on phone calls, but got right back on it again, kept in touch with the people we had, again, kept meeting new people. I would, you know, just join all kinds of networking groups where I didn't feel pressure to get a sale. It was more of just developing relationships, meeting people. That's easier to me than that mindset of we need to find our next client. Because when I eventually got into that mindset, it pretty much zapped all of my energy and all of my success that I had rolling from then on. So 2009, we did 24 sales. And so at that point, you know, I was really cranking well in the database and starting to even out that typical realtor roller coaster that you have in the beginning. And then I sloughed off.
Well, so before you go there, because there's a changing point that we can see happens, and I really want everybody to hear this, because honestly, as a business coach, I see a lot of people get to this point where it's this really nice comfort zone, and they kind of forgot what they did to get there. So a couple of business things I want you guys to pick up on, because I want you to pick up on how to structure your business as well from this. So what we had done is that capital account we were building, in those first 6 months, we had built up enough sales that we were able to then buy 10, I think it was like 10 branded signs or something like that. I think we spent about $1,500 or something. We had built up about $2,000 in there. So I said, hey, we got $2,000 in the capital account. Let's go ahead and get those Korn team signs now, because you're going to start getting listings now. You've been feeding the database for 6 months. He's got 600 people in there, you know, 400 to 600 people in there, because he did. There were like days where he wouldn't put anybody in the database for 3 or 4 days, especially at the point he's telling you about now, where he just kind of started getting off of that because calls started coming in. The sales were a little bit easier, and he's working with people he knows, and they're easy to work with, and it's fun, right? And 16 to 25 sales a year is a pretty dang comfortable lifestyle as a realtor. Caution, be careful, you guys, because you will make more money than you could go get a job and make, which Jason was able to quit his job. But what happened is that $2,000 we built up and bought the signs, right? The second 6 months we built it up again, and then we bought some print advertising in like the local Homes magazine and some of that stuff. Well, Jason, I mean, you were telling me earlier that that's when you started noticing people were saying you were like everywhere, and you only had a listing or 2. So
yeah, I was only putting, even in our ad, I was putting probably 2, 3 listings maybe at a time. But between that, seeing our logo there, seeing it in the real estate magazine that went out, yeah, people just started telling me, God, I see your name everywhere. And it's probably a memorable name in Lincoln, Nebraska, where we're the home of the Cornhuskers. But yeah, people started saying that they had seen me everywhere. They thought I was doing even better than I was. So
guys, here's the deal. I asked him, I said, how much business did you track off the ad? He goes, well, actually, now that you mention it, not a lot. It was the relationships and the context and the personal calls that, because what we do is the first 2 weeks or first 8 weeks that he met somebody, he calls them back twice. And then he calls them every few months from after that. He's writing some handwritten notes, doing some personal messaging. So that's why they were seeing him everywhere, because those people would pick those up and see the Korn team, but they had talked to Jason. They were getting stuff in their mailbox from him. So all of a sudden, he's everywhere. Guys, everybody who takes this Make the Phone Ring Again system, puts it in place, within just 6 months, the market starts saying, you're like everywhere. You're a marketing guru. And in the business groups, you probably heard that too, right? I mean, they thought you'd been doing this forever. So here's the point. So we built this capital account. We're working through. We're letting the business pay for itself. And then about 2 years in, Jason kind of starts fading off, and him and I aren't talking as much. And all of a sudden, I notice there's no more money going in the capital account, and because he's in control of the commissions. I mean, it's his business. I'm just kind of like his partner. Well, there was no capital money going in there, and so take us on that next phase of your business and kind of what happened and what you went through, because I think a lot of people go through this.
Yeah, I think it's just a thing where, again, I did start getting comfortable. Things started building, and I guess I just assumed, well, I've built this now, it's just going to continue to be like that. And I stopped, not only did I stop adding people to my database and building those relationships and staying in touch with them, I stopped staying in touch with people that I had been staying in touch with for, the first 2-3 years I was in the business. Yeah, I would see them, we would talk, but I stopped sending them stuff, stopped making the phone calls, and that's really when I noticed that my business started to kind of hit a downward trend. Started because of that. I didn't have the business I needed, so I started having to go after for sell by owners and expireds, which can be a great business, but when you are somewhat of an introvert, it's not fun to do, and it's not easy. And what I learned was, if you're not good at it, you're not comfortable with it, then you are eventually going to let it go by the wayside, and you're not going to continue it consistently, at least like you need. So my business started going down, and I started working with a lot of people that I didn't know. A lot of what I like to call jackwagons, people that treated me poorly, thought they knew more about real estate than I did, and I really started to feel, beat down. Basically, I lost my confidence, stopped doing the things that I need to be doing, stopped talking to Brad because, frankly, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So I knew that I was going to get an earful, and I knew that I wasn't doing what I should be doing. So yeah, I just lost a lot of confidence and really just kind of stopped doing the stuff that got me to where I had gotten. So.
Well, and that even played another part too, that I know everybody deals with things differently, but man, once you get on that roller coaster, maybe tell them what your sales were doing and what that even ultimately took you to,
Yeah. Yeah, so at the peak, I guess I was about 24 sales, and we were trending upward. Then that's when I kind of let everything go. I went back down to 17 sales, and then it was 19 sales, and then 17 sales. And during that time, again, I'd lost confidence. I'd kind of lost my passion for real estate. And in the beginning, that's the reason why a lot of people told me they worked with me. I mean, they told me two main reasons I heard, because I didn't have the experience at the time, was I wrote them a handwritten note. That was a big one. People loved that. And then also they could feel my enthusiasm, they said, in our appointments. They just knew that I was energetic, I was passionate about it, and I lost all of that. I stopped, when I was going on appointments even, I wasn't converting as well, and I was trying to figure out, well, what am I doing differently? Why am I not converting? And I really think a lot of it had to do with that energy.
Well, so real quick, I know exactly what happens because I watch it happen with so many people. All of a sudden, this is kind of happening. Your confidence level's down. You're around a bunch of other realtors in your marketplace, which nobody really works their database unless you've been through Make the Phone Ring Again, really. I mean, you're around other successful people and other agents in your marketplace, and they start telling you what you should be doing and all this other stuff. And, I mean, what the people on this webinar are going to hear the same things. They hear the same things that you went through. So what'd you do to kind of start turning that around, or were you even able to turn it around? Because I know this thing drove you down to where you even, I mean, I didn't even know, guys. It's like Jason and I didn't talk for a couple of years. I mean, I go to this landmark session where they're talking about the mind and how people think and the stories we make in our head. And, you know, I really thought, Jason, I thought I had become too Coach Korn versus Brother Brad. And Jason and I never even had a fight. Our family doesn't even fight. We don't even yell at each other. I mean, we're like the most loving family ever. Hugs and kisses, all that fun stuff. But, I mean, it was like we didn't talk for a while, and I'm sitting in that thing going, they challenge you to call somebody that you haven't talked to in a while, and I just called Jason because I'm like, hey, how come we haven't talked in like 2 years? And then I found out kind of the dark side of what this had driven him to and where he was, and that was the turning point. So what did that look like before I had called you, and then we'll take them to the where you started turning it back around.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, I lost all my confidence. Business was down, and obviously I have a family, wife, and a son. And so I started putting a lot of pressure on myself.
Tell Grover to wave in there. I want to see Grover. All right, if he comes,
he's in the other room minding his own. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I really hit a depression, really more than anything. I felt all this pressure to get the next sale, and I was just so focused on the results, but yet not the process. And without the process, you're not getting the results. So it was just a vicious cycle, really. You know, I wasn't getting the results I wanted, but I was depressed. I lost my confidence. I wasn't doing the things to get those results. I guess I just wanted them to happen. So I started drinking quite a bit, to be quite honest. It was really, at the end of the day, how I would deal with the fact that I did not feel good about the effort I was putting in, and the stress that I was under financially for a while. I just started. In the evenings, I would, you know, have a couple drinks, and that turned into a couple times a week to about every night of the week. And I finally realized that that was really starting to affect my business, even to the point where I was scheduling appointments around it. You know, if I had a bad day and I really just wanted to go home and escape that, I would just tell them, I'm in appointments, I can't show you houses tonight. And I finally just realized that that's not going to get me out of where I'm going. I needed to change my mindset from this is the result I need, I have to have a sale, to what do I need to do, what's the process to get back to getting to those sales. And that's really then when I kind of, you and I reconnected again. It was you know, probably more than coincidence, and just started diving back into getting in touch with my current clients, reconnecting with them in my database, and then also getting out there and meeting more people and developing relationships, and not worrying about whether it related to a sale in 3 months or not. Just meeting people, getting to genuinely know them, and then staying in touch with them.
So when this happened, guys, Jason and I would talk, and he would have these like just mini aha moments where he's like, God, yeah, it is just, I mean, I'm just calling people I know again. And every time we talk, he'd get a little more excited. Well, then he went through the Make the Phone Ring Again course. Was there anything that really like was a light bulb switch that really swung everything back around? Because you're back on track where you're now having conversations with people, adding them back into the database. You're even excited about the program and want to even take this message out to agents yourself and help them. So what did that look like? What's that turning point, swinging back around? What did you get out of the course? I mean, what was the things you picked up on, and what did you do different to get back on track?
Yeah, well, shortly after I took the course, I kind of went through my database and realized that previous year, I think there was 4 people in my database who I had a good relationship with that were either past clients or just friends of mine, that I realized, oh, they bought or sold or both a house, and they didn't contact me. And so it really kind of hit me that, oh my goodness, and I was taking the course at the same time. And I just remember you talking about reconnecting to people and not making the conversations about real estate. I have this limiting belief that everyone's just thinking that I'm out to get a sale. And I don't think that most people think that of me at all, in fact. But I had that belief for a while. And when I finally just got over that and started calling people and just asking them about how things were going, how their family was, what work's like, I never, in fact, to this day, I don't bring up real estate ever. I mean, I don't know if I've ever met a person that I even just met who I didn't have a relationship that found out I was a realtor and didn't say, oh, really, how's the real estate market? What's going on? And I mean, they just bring it up. It's like the weather or the Cornhuskers in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Everyone's just going to bring it up naturally. And so I think the turning point was for me is I realized how many people I was not or since I hadn't been in contact with, how many people I had actually lost, for whatever reason that might be. And then also the fact of you don't have to talk about real estate and you don't have to think that this has to be your next sale. Those were the big turning points for me. And then in one of the sessions of Make the Phone Ring Again, you talk about going through your social media contacts. I just went through Facebook, and I couldn't believe, I've got 700 and some friends on there, and we all know Facebook, you're not all that close with those people. But I couldn't believe how many people I was friends with, had conversations with pretty regularly that were on my Facebook, and they've never once been in my database. I've never once, been in contact with them in a consistent manner. And so that was a big aha moment for me too. I thought, oh geez, I've got so many people that are already right in front of me that I haven't even put into the system to stay in touch with. And if you don't have the system, it's easy to let it all go and not stay in touch with them.
Yeah, guys, this is like the key thing to this whole deal. I'm just looking right now. Not only is it your Facebook list, but it's your phone, just the phone book list of all these people. Okay, I've been doing this for 20 years. Putting 5 people in a day every day, I still have thousands of people that I can add to my database. I'm telling you, they are out there everywhere. When we got into real estate, one of the things they tell you to do is make a list of the 100 to 150 people you know, and that's your start list. And then you go to a broker, and they hand you a phone and say, call them all, and you're going to turn a couple of deals right away, right? If you called 150 people, you're going to put 1 or 2 people under contract. That's just statistically, it'll work that way. So, but then what happens is then it dries up and they're not adding new people. Guys, every single day we are bumping into people and having two-way conversations that if you would just, keep in mind, don't look for the next real estate deal. This is the best part about this course, and this is one thing I've realized teaching this course over the last, 3 or 4 years. This is the one thing I'm going to show you how to never talk about real estate and get more real estate than you've ever gotten, because you don't have to tell people you're a realtor. If I'm calling, here, let me just give you an old school training where you're calling 100 people and you're like, hey, are you thinking about buying or selling your house? No, you're not. Do you know anybody else who is? No, you don't? Okay, thank you, bye, click. Hey, do you know anybody who's buying or selling real estate? Oh, are you moving? Yeah, no, you don't know anybody, bye, click. If you just called people and started talking with them about, hey, do you like your neighborhood? How's everything going in your neighborhood? I'm in real estate. I'm helping people buy and sell real estate. I want to know why you like living there. If they were one of the people that I called and said, are you thinking about buying or selling real estate? If they said yes, which you get 1 to 3 people out of 100 will say, yeah, we are thinking about selling. Well, if I did the same thing and called them and just said, hey, just calling, see how things are going in the neighborhood, and it's somebody you know, if they are the same people that would have said yes, they're going to say like Jason just said, well, hey, what about real estate? Because we're thinking about selling our house. I don't even have to tell them I'm a realtor. I can just call them up and have a conversation, and if I just throw in there, yeah, I got into real estate, and I'm just helping people, protect their values. Yeah, we were thinking about selling. Is the market good? There's my appointment. So they're going to tell you they're thinking of selling, right? So it's just that I love the fact that you don't even have to tell people you're in real estate with this program, because once you meet them and you put them in your database and you follow up with them a handwritten note, and then you drip on them and call them continuously after that, everything you're sending them tells them you're in real estate. So, and Jason has this revelation every time. He's really got it this time, and he's back on the upswing with his business, getting into that 24 to 30 sale market, and we're taking him on up to 70 to 100 this time. We're not going to let him drift off, which he's really excited about. So, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Is there anything else that you want to share that you think a newer agent, or even agents that have been in business? I've talked to agents and coached agents who've been in real estate 10 years, and I say, how many people are in your database? They've been in business 10 years, and they're like 250 or 300 or 400, right? So what most people are doing is they're putting past clients in their database, and we're not even following up with them really well. But the reconnect plan that Jason talked about is on the website, MakeThePhoneRingAgain.com. You can actually watch a webinar where we talk about the reconnect plan and what that looks like. Guys, everything's on the website to figure this out. It's just that if you want that accountability, like Jason knew where to go to the website and get all this stuff. It's just you get caught up in that world with the other people around you and Nobody else is really working their database like this, I promise. In your marketplace, unless they've gone through this course, they're not working their database from the relationship perspective. Otherwise, you'd be hanging out with them all the time and you'd probably be doing it. So even though the website's available and you can get all that stuff there, I mean, what are some of the things, is there any advice, last minute thing you want to make sure somebody gets out of this webinar today to make that turning point and really start feeding their database every day and just have fun connecting with people?
Well, I think you said it. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just to have fun with it. When in the beginning, I had fun. I was energetic. I enjoyed going out and putting people in the database. At some point, it just became, laborsome, I guess, because I lost sight of what it was really about, and it just became about sales and not about the people. And for me personally, I'm just not that type of person. I'm not just. I have to develop relationships. I really genuinely do care about the people I talk to. And so, yeah, I think just focusing on the process, not worrying about the result of it is really a big one. Just be yourself, too. I think I started trying to be someone else and to be up to people's expectations. And I realize that I just get so much more business when I'm just genuine, open with people, and building the relationship. The handwritten note's been huge for me. I send our clients in our sphere a birthday note with on their birthdays with $5 Scooters gift card, which is a local coffee shop that are like on every corner here. And you can get yogurt there too, so it's perfect for everyone. Those sorts of things, and then just calling them on their birthday, saying happy birthday. That's it. You don't bring up real estate at all. Those have been some real big things. I've had a lot of clients post on Facebook and say, hey, it's been 5 years, my realtor still sends me a birthday card. That just happened a couple months ago. So yeah, I mean, just overall, just enjoy yourself, get out there and be on purpose, but don't worry about the sale. Get to know people. The sales, that's all that's gonna come from it. And I've noticed that now, because I noticed it in the beginning, but I thought, well, maybe this is just an anomaly. I'm just getting business because I'm in the business now. Since I went down that hill and stopped doing those things, and now I'm back to doing them again, and our business is growing quite a bit again, I realized that is the reason for it. It was developing the relationships, and that is the whole reason why I've gotten the business that I've gotten.
So guys, here's why this works. The National Board of Realtors tracks that the average person moves and when I ask that question, most people say about every 7 years. Some people say 5, some people say 10. It's been 10 years over the last 10 years because everybody was upside down, the markets were flattening and crushing or whatever. Now it's moving back. We're probably going to be back to the 5 to 7 year mark here pretty quick, where they live in their house 5 to 7 years. So if you just call 100 people, if you did 5 people a day, every day, 5 days a week, and you put them in your database, and you just are on purpose about writing a note to everybody you add to your database, if you just do those 2 things, and you put 100 people in your database, it'll take you 1 month. 5 people a day, 5 days a week, 25 people a week, 100 people a month. According to National Board of Realtors, if we say every 7 years, guys, there's 14 transactions in those 100 people in the very first month you're in real estate right now. 14 deals. Here's the deal. 14 deals every year. But that's every year. So over the next 12 months, only one of them is moving every month for the next 12 months. And it might be 2 this month and 0 next month, but it's going to be averaging about 1 sale a month. So if you called those 100 people right now this first month, you're going to find 1 or 2 deals. Haven't I said that number before? That number's kind of popped up a couple of times. 1 or 2 of them are moving right now. The other 12 people don't know they're moving yet this month until next month or the following month or 2 months from now or 3 months from now. So if you stay in touch with those 100 people after that, what you guys are doing is you're building your pipeline. Do that every month. You're talking about 1,200 people a year that you would add to your database, right? Divide that by 7. That's 171 transactions. Can you guys see that? This is for real. This is like National Board of Realtors doesn't make this number up. It's 170 deals. So if you just get this half right, you'd at least could get 80 deals a year from those 1,200 people. And if you keep adding 1,200 people every year, just start doing the math. It's stupid math, right? So Jason did it at the beginning, and he ramped his business up to 20-some sales, 24 sales at the high end. When you quit feeding the database, it drops back off. I did the same thing. I turned my business over to a replacement in 2005. By 2006, our business had dropped in half. Our listing inventory went from 35 down to under 20. We were selling half as many properties, the market had crashed, and people were buying half as many, right? They were buying half as fast, and our inventory was down. What I realized in that year when I stepped out and thought I was like, you know, I got my business running on autopilot, and the machine carried it. They did 118 sales that year without me. But what was coming up next year, nobody fed the database the year after I left. I was the guy that fed the database every day. And our business started tanking, and I had to step back in October and started calling everybody, reconnecting with everybody, getting notes going again, and we ramped our listing inventory up to 60 listings, 60 active listings within 3 months. So it's about getting very on purpose and feed the database every day. Now, if you create the automated action plan to remind you to stay in touch with them, that's the gravy, because then somebody's telling you to not forget to call these people. So if you have a database of, say, 500 people right now, there's at least 50 transactions in there, maybe more for this year, but you have to call all 500 of them and then stay in touch with them every few weeks at first, and then every few months after that, calling them, talking to them, having two-way conversations. And if you do that, go start at the A's and go through to Z in your database, and just put 5 people, just reconnect with them. You know, on the website, you'll see the website, there's a reconnect plan. The letter just says, hey, I realized I haven't stayed in touch with you for a while. Mail this letter out that says, I haven't done a good job of keeping in touch. I'm going to call you in the next few days, catch up. Have the system tell you in 4 days to call them, and then just call them and, like, Jason, how's the family? What have you been doing for fun? Yeah, how's work going? It's FORD, Ford, Family, Occupation, Recreation, Dreams. That is old school stuff. You don't even have to talk about real estate. And then everything from that day forward after you reconnect, then you start branding them with your real estate stuff. Then you don't have to tell them you're a realtor. So what it does, there's this limbic part of the brain that is our defense mechanism. Like when you walk into a store and a salesperson walks up, says, how may I help you? How do you respond? Just looking. I can tell you right now, if Jason and I are in a mall, and we're walking into a store, we're not just looking, right? We're there to get something and get the heck out. And so when a salesperson walks up to you at the front of the store and says, hey, you look like you're in a little bit of a hurry, can I help you get out of here a little quicker? You're like, oh my gosh, yes, I just need a tie, or I just need a pair of pants real quick. Great, well, guess what? That's the salesperson you better be careful of, because they're smarter than the other guys. They're going to clean your wallet out before you leave, and you'll be there probably 5 minutes longer if they're good. But the point is, you felt a lot more comfortable. They were paying attention to you. So when you pay attention to people and say, hey, how's it going? How's the family? And it's not about real estate. How can I help you buy and sell real estate right now? Oh, we're not buying right now. We don't know anybody else that is. You know, that's all you're doing with that framework. So just turn it back into a relationship, and then you can say, you know, hey, you know, how's real estate going? Well, you know, today's call wasn't about real estate, but I'll call you in a couple of weeks and let you know what's going on. It's good. Why, you guys aren't moving, are you? No, we're not moving. We just wondered how it was. Yeah. It's like weather. Jason said it earlier. It's the weather. Yeah, it's really good. You know, if you know anybody moving, you make sure you let me know. But I'll call you in a couple of weeks and tell you what's really going on. Oh, great. Now they're looking forward to me calling and talking to them about real estate. It's crazy. It's just stupid. Stupid fun, right? So anyway, it's about getting back to fun. Scott, do we have any questions that came in? I know we got a few minutes left on the webinar here to answer any questions. Anybody throw anything in or have questions about anything?
Yeah, no, we didn't have any questions come in. If anybody has any questions real quick at the end, go ahead and submit those and we'll get to those. But I, real quick, just wanted to go over, I know you touched on it a little bit, that you want to talk to people a couple times a month at the beginning and then maybe once every few months after that. Why don't we dig in a little bit deeper on what the process is to keep that relationship and build that relationship once you have that contact in your database?
Jason, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, well, what we did was we set up an 8x8 system, and that was kind of a reminder through our CRM to stay in touch with them. When I met with someone, they'd always get a handwritten note from me saying, "Hey, it was great talking to you. Look forward to staying in touch with you." Then it might be a letter or two, and then another phone call within probably 2-3 weeks. again, conversation was just, hey, just wanted to make sure you got what I had sent you. How are things going since we talked? Basically just talking about anything, you know, that you can bring up and forward, like Brad said. Send maybe another item or two of value, a letter or something to that matter, and then again, touch base with them again, find out, you know, how things have been since the last time you talked. And it's really, I think what you don't want to get hung up in is the content. Don't get too caught up in what you are sending them. Be somewhat realistic. Maybe half of them are going to throw it away, and maybe not even read it. I don't know. I don't know what you think, Brad, but that's kind of what I think. But they still see my name. They still see my name, and they know. They don't even have to read it. And so I think one thing that I did was I got really caught up in content. But really, consistency matters more than anything with the people you know. Now, if you're trying to break into a market that don't know you, you're probably going to need some really good content. But with people you know, it's mostly about consistency.
So
Hopefully
here's
the question.
Scott, on this, for the 100 people that I would pick up the phone and call right now, I can tell you statistically 97 of them are not moving right now. So the follow-up plans that we have on the 8x8 and the 33 touch, like Jason just said, don't get caught up in the content. It's chicken soup from the soul stories. There's even a recipe in there. I purposely put a recipe in it because I went to a conference once and somebody said, yo, we're realtors, don't be putting recipes in your follow-up plans. 97% of those people aren't buying or selling real estate right now. So why would I hound them about how they can make more money selling their house? If I stay in touch with them and just things that they'll pin up on the refrigerator and keep on the bulletin board, and if I'm calling them on a regular basis when they do think about selling, they're going to go off of that plan and go on my I'm ready to be a seller plan. There's a whole nother plan that does talk about staging your house, but I don't need to put everybody on that. So the problem is that most people are just putting they're putting the 3 people out of 100 in their database and they're letting the other 97 go. Well, when will we ever catch them again when they're getting ready, when it's their month? So to answer your question directly, there's campaigns and action plans built into most contact management systems. Now, really, our listeners got to be really careful here because none of them bring the personal touch like we're talking about today. And I know why you don't have a lot of questions, because everybody's watching going, this is so simple. I mean, all I got to do is pick up the phone and call 5 people a day. I mean, I get this all the time, right? So there's a campaign or action plan in your database that you can set up a series of events to happen. You got to automate this, because if I meet 5 people today, if I meet 97 people this month that aren't buying and selling real estate, I'm not going to remember to call them in a week or 2 weeks or 3 months from now unless my system tells me to. And that's why I said my calls don't have to always be about that. But the campaign that runs says the minute I put them in, so I write them a note, that means I have to have their address, right? I had to have a decent conversation to get their address and their phone number. I'm talking to them on the phone or in person, you know, so, and you can Google all that stuff too when you don't have it. But once that plan, I put them in the database and I start the campaign and it sets these series of events into action. Well, the very last action on every single action plan we have is to start the next plan. Because again, if it doesn't have that piece and I make my last activity and I'm all done, I'm not going to remember to go in and start them on something later. The system has to tell me to start them on the next follow-up plan. So then the 33 touch is more spread out, and where it's got a letter, then maybe an email, then a letter, then a call, then a letter and an email, then find them on social media, and then a letter and an email, and then a call. Well, again, there's like 4 calls a year and 4 social media personal touches a year gets us 8 personal contacts every year. Every month and a half, we're everywhere, right? So when they're standing in the grocery store line and somebody in front of them, a total stranger, is up there telling the cashier that they know, it's like, yeah, we're about ready to fire our realtor. This is horrible. The person that you've been contacted with is standing there going, hey, you ought to call Jason Korn. I just kind of overheard your conversation. You ought to call Jason Korn. He's a really good marketing guy, and he might be able to help you. That's what starts really happening out there. Jason's very first deal was a referral. He hadn't even sold a house yet. But really, to his credit, he became the agent in his office that everybody thought was the agent. Like the top agent in your office that you go ask questions to, Jason was that guy in the first 6 months. he was sharing his ideas, helping them with training, giving them ideas because he was doing it then, right? And then he got caught up into that world and what everybody should be doing and the easy path, and you just, if you're not plugged in to somebody that keeps this in front of you, you'll get sucked right back into the old world pretty quick. And that's just really what happened. He felt like he had to keep a certain expectation, or that people were looking up to him a certain way, because he was like the agent in the office. So that's when the pressure kicked in, and that's where he started thinking, you know, he had it made, or maybe it would just happen, and it doesn't. I mean, we're basically brick and mortar stores without a brick and mortar. They got to remember us the minute they hear somebody talking about real estate. That's the challenging, really.
That's great. So one of the things you said was that, you know, Jason's first sale came from a referral. So if somebody does implement this program and starts to build these relationships and continue to work their past database, how much business can they expect to be from referrals and repeat business?
Awesome question. Okay, so I'll give you the numbers. If you just did 5 a day, every day, 5 days a week, I'm not even talking 7 days a week, and you literally add 1,200 people to your database every year, right? We knew when we did that math, if we're using the, I'll just use the 10-year. Let's just say everybody's moving every 10 years, because you're actually going to be able to at least do this number. If everybody's moving more, it'll be more. But if you have 1,200 people in there, 120 people are moving, right? Now, for the 120 people, actually for the 1,200 people that are in there, everybody you assume knows 100 or 150 people really well. They told us that in real estate school, right? Everybody knows about 100 or 150 people. They probably directly influence decisions on about 10 or 12 people in their life. Like, they come to them for advice. Every person has these people that come to us for advice. So actually, if I had 120 people that I actually did business with, and they all have 10 people that they directly influence, there's actually 1,200 more possible transactions. The reality is, what we know from the studies is that for every 12 people you get personally in contact with, you should get 2 pieces of business. 1, they'll do business with you, and 2, they'll refer you somebody. So here, the answer to your question directly is that out of those 1,200 people, 120 of them will move. I could really truly expect probably another 120 sales in referrals if I'm really branded and connected with these people, and when they think of real estate, your face flashes in their mind. I mean, it's just like, I joke around, I say it's like you went to what's the hypnotist. It's like you went to a hypnotist and they programmed in you that if somebody says the word real estate, you just say Jason Korn, Jason Korn. And wherever they are, if they hear real estate, they just saw Jason Korn's picture in their mind, which, thank God, he's as cute as me, right? He's at least good looking. Otherwise, if he's scary looking, I don't know. If he had a radio face, we'd have to do something different. No, I'm kidding. But they think of Jason Korn, and it's just, if they get the opportunity to throw that conversation in, it's going to happen. So literally, it probably about matches what you get transaction-wise. It's probably 240 transactions a year available in 1,200 people. We're talking 5 a day. That's all this is about. So it's crazy. It's almost sick. It seems like it can't be real. But so let's just challenge this one more time, because I know we're at the end of the call. Let's just say NAR is wrong, and everybody's staying in their houses every 20 years, right? So I take 1,200 people divided by 20, I'm still talking 60 transactions a year. In 1 year, I can have 60 deals a year. By year 2, when those 60 people move the first year, well, there's another 60 people moving the second year. So if I just do the same thing again next year, and NAR is way off, and everybody's staying in their house 20 years, second year in real estate, and I add 1,200 more people. Now I have 2,400 people in my database, right? 60 more people from the first 1,200 are moving in the second year, and 60 people from the new 1,200 are moving. I'm instantly at 120 sales. Go to year 3, we're at 180. Go year 4, this is crazy. How are we only doing 20 to 30, 40 deals a year? It's just sick. It's just because we're not staying in touch with people, that's all. We're trying to go to the mass marketing. What can I do where I don't have to do anything, and the postcards go and the emails go? Well, you guys are deleting emails in chunks like I am. Well, guess what? You're in those chunks. I mean, you got to get to the note. That's why if you just write the note, it changes.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And really, I mean, it's about building relationships, and to me, that's the fun part of it. When you stop doing that and you start doing all the easier stuff, the passive marketing, yeah, you've got a little more time to play golf or do whatever, but do you have the money to do that when you're doing those sort of things? Probably not.
Well, you can
Probably
play
not.
golf.
I can tell you
Yeah, you can play golf. Just put those people in your database and write them a note. It was a great golf game today. And
there you go.
yeah.
There you go. So.
All right.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I can tell you that 83% of my business is not a fake number. Last year was referrals or past clients, the people on my sphere of influence, the people I'm staying in touch with, and that's been true for the last 2 years in a row since I've gotten back into the system consistently. So,
great,
makes
so
a big
Scott,
difference.
They really can just go to MakeThePhoneRingAgain.com and get off. I mean, I probably need to trim this site down. It's got so much information on it, and you can hear it so many different ways. Hopefully one of those will inspire you to do that. If you really need the accountability, there is a course you can take. So all that information's there. I mean, you can do it. Everything's there for you to do it. And it goes all the way up to a course to hold you accountable, clear up to one-on-one coaching. I mean, if that's what you really need to make this happen, it's all there. So MakeThePhoneRingAgain.com.
Yep, check it out and check Brad out. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody that's watching.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, everyone that's watching, we've got another one next month. Join us on next month's Database Mastery Hangout, and it'll be at the same time. And Brad, thank you as always for joining us, and we hope to see everybody next month.
That guy's great call.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Jason.